after protein, everyone is talking about fiber now. Fiber maxing, more legumes, only whole grains, hidden veggies and everything, even fiber supplements. So maybe you're wondering, is this just yet another overhyped nutrition trend? Or does science actually prove that fiber is the key to less inflammation, fat loss, better skin, longevity, everything basically? And if so, should you really be eating as much fiber as possible, or how much should you be eating? Which types of fiber you need, because there's 2 different kinds. And also, what is fiber even? Because spoiler, it's not your salad. If you're new here, hi, I'm Hannah. I have certifications in nutrition and in fitness, and on this channel I translate health science into what actually matters and how you can apply that to your real, normal life without going crazy. Let's get into the video. Before we get into what science has to say about the fiber hype, let's first talk about what fiber even is, because most people still think it is in their bowl of salad, which is not exactly true. So fiber is a type of carbohydrate found in plant foods that your body cannot digest. So it basically goes into your mouth and then through your body and out again. And the fact that your body cannot digest fiber sounds like a bad thing, but that's actually a very good thing. And there's 0 fiber in animal products, but it's only found in plants that contain carbohydrates. And since fiber is a type of carb, you can only find fiber in foods that contain carbs, which is also why in lettuce, for example, there is very, very little fiber, because that's mostly water and not carbs. 2 cups of lettuce, for example, has about the same amount of fiber as 1 square of dark chocolate. And there are 2 different kinds of fiber that do very different things in your body. But we will talk about the 2 types and what they do later in the video, because once you understand what fiber even does in your body, the 2 types will make a lot more sense. So what does science show that fiber actually does in your body? You've probably heard 1,000 times by now that fiber is the key to gut health. Is that actually true according to science? Yes, it is. And that's because fiber is basically food for your gut bacteria, the good kind of your gut bacteria, also known as your microbiome. That microbiome consists of trillions of bacteria, and these bacteria are living organisms and they need food too, just as you and I. And fiber is their food. So by eating a lot of fiber, you're feeding your friends in your gut bacteria. And when you eat fiber, your bacteria eat that fiber too, kind of, and ferment it. And a byproduct of that fermentation are short-chain fatty acids, which sounds kind of clinical. You don't need to remember that, but these short-chain fatty acids are kind of signaling molecules that are produced when your gut is well fed. When you have a lot of these short-chain fatty acids, they do a lot of great things in your gut, including fueling your gut lining. And your gut lining is very, very important because it's basically a barrier of your gut between your gut and your bloodstream. And when that barrier weakens, things might go from your gut into your bloodstream that are not supposed to go there. For example, undigested particles or bacterial byproducts. And if things like that go into your bloodstream, your immune system might very likely see that as a threat, and it might produce inflammation. And this process is something that some people like to call leaky gut syndrome, which is not a very clinically approved term yet, but you've probably heard of leaky gut, and this is basically what these people are talking about, because your gut in that case is actually leaking into your bloodstream, which is why you need a strong gut lining, aka gut barrier. Now, inflammation because of a lack of fiber happens in 2 ways. First, through the way that I just described, by having a weak gut lining. Second, and this happens before your gut lining can even break down, when your good gut bacteria don't have enough to eat, the balance between good and bad gut bacteria shifts. And that imbalance itself, also known as gut dysbiosis, pretty much directly can trigger inflammation in your body. So both having a weak gut lining but also not feeding your good gut bacteria enough can increase inflammation in your body, and that inflammation is more like low-grade inflammation. And that kind of low-grade inflammation is linked to basically everything: weight gain, skin issues, fatigue, mood fluctuations, and even the risk of developing certain long-term diseases. Speaking of diseases, when you eat enough fiber, that also supports your immune system, because about 70% of your immune system sits in your gut. So when your gut is healthy, when your good gut bacteria are well fed and are producing enough short-chain fatty acids, your immune system works better. You get sick less often, you recover faster, and your low-grade inflammation is low or non-existent. And here's the thing, what's happening in your gut shows up on so many areas that you wouldn't even connect to your gut, including on your skin, which is one reason. Poor gut health is one of the main reasons why people struggle with things like redness or acne or any kind of inflammatory skin reactions. And that's because your skin and your gut are in constant communication. And this pathway of communication is actually something that has a name by researchers, namely the gut-skin axis, which has its own name because really that connection is super strong. Which is why so many skin issues that you might be having, or people are having, are not very easily fixable or significantly fixable with things like skincare or with anything that you can put on your skin, but rather by working on the inside, aka your gut health. Which means that getting enough fiber through keeping your gut healthy is one of the best things you can do for a good and healthy looking skin. But Hannah, isn't there anything I can do from the outside too that can help with skin inflammation? Actually, yeah, red light therapy can also help reduce inflammation from the outside. And that is actually proven by research too. Oh, red light therapy, like the LED mask that I've been seeing everywhere? Yes, exactly. I've been using the FAQ 202 by Foreo, who are actually very kindly sponsoring today's video. And it's really made a big difference with my skin. I've never really struggled with acne, but something that I used to struggle with a lot is redness because I have very sensitive skin. And using the mask almost every night has really improved the smoothness, evenness of my skin tone. Oh, that's cool. And what else does it help with? Next to reducing inflammation, red light has also been shown to stimulate collagen production and improve skin elasticity. So it helps make your skin look a bit more plump and healthy. But one of the special things about this mask is that it does not only have red light, but also 7 other wavelengths, including blue light and near infrared light, which have also been proven by science to be very effective for certain skin issues, including, again, skin inflammation, and also especially blue light has been proven to target acne. And infrared light has been shown to go even deeper to support cellular repair, boost circulation, and help with deeper tissue inflammation. And is it easy to use? Because I don't really want to complicate my evening routine or my morning routine. Yeah, it's super easy to use, mainly because it's wireless, so you don't even have a wire light lying around. And also it's very lightweight. It's made out of flexible silicone, so it fits basically any face shape. So I just put it on my face while I'm doing something in my evening routine, like cleaning up, for example. And that way it's just really low effort. If you want to get your own FAQ 202 or any other Foreo product, use the link in my description and my code to get a special discount. Thank you so much to Foreo. And now let's get back to fiber. Now, next to feeding your good gut bacteria, there's another way how fiber helps reduce inflammation in your body, and that is by stabilizing your blood sugar levels. Now, every time you eat carbs, your blood sugar rises. And that is to some extent absolutely normal and healthy. But when you eat simple carbs, or carbs without protein, fats, and or fiber, your blood sugar raises really quickly. And in order to get that blood sugar level down again, your body pumps out a lot of insulin, and then your blood sugar levels crash. And that crash leaves you tired, moody, wanting something sweet, and also that can raise low-grade inflammation in your body again. But when you eat fiber with your carbs, or have whole grain carbs instead of simple carbs, that fiber slows down that blood sugar response of your body, because fiber physically slows down digestion, so glucose enters your bloodstream slower, which means less of a spike, less of a crash, which is not only important for reducing inflammation and having stable energy, but also to reduce the risk of insulin resistance and or type 2 diabetes. So once again, it is not at all about avoiding carbs, not at all, but try to coat your carbs whenever possible, either with protein and fat, and or even better with also fiber, which is the reason why people keep telling you to opt for whole grains instead of refined grains, because in the whole grains there's more vitamins and everything, but also usually more fiber. Now, having stable blood sugar levels not only has an effect on your energy levels and on the risk of developing diabetes and insulin resistance, but also it helps with something many people struggle with, and that is fat loss. But not only stable blood sugar does that, but also fiber by itself, because fiber helps you to stay full for longer. And it does that in basically 2 different ways. First, it adds bulk, because high fiber foods physically take up more space in your stomach. Soluble fiber specifically absorbs water as it moves through your stomach and forms a thick gel, which means that the food you just ate literally expands. It gets bigger. And this is not the same as volume eating. The food just gets bigger when it's in your stomach. And also because fiber slows down digestion, the food that you ate stays in your stomach for longer. And because it stays in there for longer, you feel full for longer, obviously. And third, when fiber reaches your gut, that triggers the release of certain satiety hormones, namely GLP-1 and PYY. And with that, the stronger the hey, I'm full signal. So you can actually stop eating after you've eaten without wanting more and more and more, and another snack here and another snack there. Another thing that fiber can do for you, according to research, is that it can significantly reduce your risk to develop certain diseases. Specifically, science clearly shows that high fiber diets can help you with having a healthy heart. Soluble fiber, which is one of the 2 types of fiber, more on that in a minute, helps to reduce cholesterol in your body. You can think of that as a kind of sponge that soaks up the cholesterol before that cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol, can do anything bad in your body, because that LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, has been shown very clearly to be linked to heart disease and also high blood pressure. This meta-analysis found that high fiber intake is linked to 16 to 24% lower risk of dying from heart disease, but also from stroke and type 2 diabetes. Also, high fiber diets have been linked to a reduced risk in colorectal cancer. Colorectal, not colorectal. So yes, kind of it seems like, according to science, it's pretty clear that fiber is the key to everything. Yet, 95% of people are not getting enough fiber, because most people are getting 15 grams a day on average. But the recommendations are to get at least 25 grams of fiber every day. Now, why are you probably also not getting enough, even if you're already eating healthy? Because obviously, if you only eat McDonald's every day, you're probably not getting enough fiber. You would know that. But even if you have a salad for lunch and vegetables next to your protein at dinner, a big bowl of salad with maybe some cucumber has maybe 2 or 3 grams of fiber tops. A portion of zucchini and tomatoes for dinner, maybe 4 grams or 5 grams. So you obviously need a lot more than that to actually hit your target. But that sounds a bit more difficult now maybe than it actually is, as long as you keep a few little tricks in mind. But before we get into the tricks, let's talk about the 2 different types of fiber, because there are 2 different types and you need both. And most people are probably actually getting enough of one of the 2, but not of the other. The 2 types are soluble and insoluble fiber. Soluble fiber is the type that dissolves in water and forms a very thick kind of gel. And that gel, as it moves through your gut, through your digestive system, it slows down that digestion because it's a thick gel. It lowers cholesterol and also it feeds your gut bacteria, the good kind. And this is the type that is most linked to the health benefits that we just talked about, including gut health, blood sugar, and heart health. And some of the best sources for soluble fiber are oats, legumes like beans, chickpeas, edamame, and peas, apples, flax seeds, psyllium husks, tofu, avocado, sweet potatoes, broccoli, pumpkin, Brussels sprouts. So some vegetables, yes, but most vegetables also have some soluble fiber, but more of the second type, namely insoluble fiber. Insoluble fiber, as the name suggests, does not dissolve. It just stays how it is and it just goes all the way through. So it kind of speeds up your digestion. Also by adding bulk. And that helps to stay regular and to keep things moving, which is also important for your health, but also to help with things like constipation. And some of the best sources for insoluble fiber include whole grains, vegetables, fruit skins, nuts, and seeds. Now, usually every kind of fiber source contains both types of fiber to some extent, but as I just mentioned, vegetables, which is the thing that most people think about when they hear fiber, mostly contain insoluble fiber, which is also important, but you also, for these health benefits, you especially need soluble fiber. So there's no need for you to track which kind of fiber you're actually getting. Just try to make sure to not only rely on vegetables and whole grains to get your fiber. So try to have a little more legumes, have oats for your breakfast, maybe add a little bit of psyllium husk to your yogurt bowl, which is what I do every morning. Eat your fruits with skin. And above all, do not eat low carb. Low carb diets, obviously, because fiber is a carb, make it a lot harder for you to get enough fiber, which is also a reason why this protein craze, and we love protein. Protein is actually important. But if you only do protein, and especially if you get your protein from sources like protein powder or only chicken breast is amazing, but there's no fiber in chicken breast, in animal products in general, you're lacking fiber. So get your protein, yes, but also get your fiber. But before you do, increase your fiber intake. There's 2 things that you need to keep in mind, because you might have heard people say, for example, especially when you talk about legumes, I cannot handle beans because they make me so bloated and I am gassy after eating that. But legumes themselves are not the problem. The problem is how you get used to them, because your body needs a little bit of time to get used to high fiber in general. And that's because in your microbiome there's a lot of different kinds of bacteria, and for every legume there's a different kind of bacteria that eats that fiber of that legume. So for example, if you're used to eating kidney beans but now start eating a lot of chickpeas, you might still get bloated because your gut didn't have enough time yet to build enough of that bacteria, to grow, to make enough of the bacteria that can handle chickpeas. Which is why whenever you introduce a new kind of, especially legume, but in general fiber, try to increase that fiber intake a bit slowly and not add a whole can of a new kind of legume to your lunch every day. But instead, try to increase slowly over maybe the course of 2 to 4 weeks and see how your gut can handle it. But you can get your gut used to handling legumes if you're an average healthy person. But next to increasing slowly, the other thing that you really need to keep in mind when you want to eat high fiber, not only when you're new to eating high fiber, but also always, is to stay hydrated, because the more fiber you eat, the more water your body needs to be able to do something with that fiber, especially when you eat a lot of soluble fiber, which binds water. And if you don't drink enough water, that soluble fiber will just get stuck in your gut, and that would lead to things like, again, bloating and other digestive issues. Now, if this getting enough fiber every day without overthinking it still seems a bit daunting to you, I getcha. I have a list of the best fiber sources and a lot more other tools in my Health Essentials guide that will help you to figure out which fiber sources work for you and how you can actually include them in your breakfast, in your lunch, in your dinner, in your snacks without having to overthink it every single time that you plan your meal. The guide is basically a self-coaching guide that helps you to build a health system, including nutrition, but also movement, sleep, and stress management, that makes it a billion times easier to apply what health science actually shows to your life and to actually stick to the habits that you want to build, including eating more fiber. Link is in the description if you're curious. So, verdict. Is fiber the key for everything? Kinda. Gut health, how your skin looks, disease risk, longevity, blood sugar balance, mood, energy levels, you name it. Now, if you want a little bit of practical inspiration how to eat a lot of fiber while also eating a lot of protein, have a look at my video right here where I share what I eat in a day in a very lazy cooking day while also getting over 40 grams of fiber and 115 grams of protein. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.